Hello,
we're
Two Fools Walking.
and today we're going to do a pretty in-depth review.
Yeah.
Well, our experience is pretty in-depth, and we're going to talk about mainly the Therm-a-Rest NeoAir XLite in both the large
and the normal edition, and we've also got the ZLite here, which is a new addition to our hiking gear. We're going to give some thoughts and feelings on all of them.
So we are camped up tonight at about 2,400, 2,500-ish meters on this fantastic, like sort of coal between two coals. We're on day 10 of our GR54 through hike. So our story, we've both had, so I used to have a regular sized ZLite, Finley's had a large sized ZLite, and we've put about 40 nights on it on the GR10 and another 40 nights on the GR5.
And then 6 nights on the Cape Wrath Trail and then 10 nights on this hike.
Yeah, so we're coming up to probably 3,000 kilometers, maybe that's a bit of an exaggeration, 2,500 kilometers of trail usage. So we have a fair bit of experience of these things in the mountains, in the Pyrenees and the Alps. So first up, should we explain what happened? So I've had the same ZLite, I had the same XLite for the whole time that I was hiking.
So I've had a little bit of a worse experience than CJ. As he just said, he's had the same one, whereas I've managed to get through 3 of these. I'm not sure if it's because of the large size or I'm just particularly good at popping them, but this is my 3rd one. However, every single time Therm-a-Rest has been brilliant, and they have sent me another one free of charge because it was an internal failure. But it is a bit of a faff.
I mean, it's a great thing that they sent us a new one every time. So the first time it happened was on the GR10, and we were about 10 or 20 days into the GR10, and it popped. It sort of, one of the internal seams broke, and basically it ballooned in the middle, and it was just complete chaos. You could probably find it if you look back far enough in our video catalogue.
They actually sent one out to us on the trail, which was pretty awesome, although quite a difficult thing to negotiate and organise.
Exactly where to get them to send us this thing, but that worked out really well.
That worked out really well.
Then it broke on the GR5, but not as badly.
Yeah, on the GR5 I was much more aware of it, so I wasn't really inflating it as much as I should do, and just basically like the very edges of the seams popped, and then slowly it got worse and worse, but it was never bad enough to need a new one on the hike. But it was still a bit of a faff. Like, it's not what you want to have with your pads.
Yeah, and then after the hike, we contacted them and they replaced it
and
again.
I've got this new one, which is, I think, a newer version of it. And so far, fingers crossed, so good, it has been holding up.
Yeah, so my one was the older model with the old valve system. Is this got the new valve system?
I don't think this has the new valve system.
Okay, so I don't think maybe this isn't the newest model, but they're all pretty much the same. So, shall we blow it up and then get back to you?
Sounds like a good idea.
Okay, through the magic of editing, it was all pumped up, and that took approximately 1 minute of inflation.
Yeah, it's a relatively unpleasant thing having to inflate it, particularly on like horrid rainy evenings. It can be quite... Yeah, it's not the most pleasant thing.
So we've talked a lot about some of the problems of them. Let's talk about the good things. So, is a NeoAir XLite comfortable?
Incredibly comfortable. Like, I get brilliant night's sleep. You can lie on your side, you can lie on your back, you can lie on your front. It's all comfy. It's great.
I always slept fantastically on my NeoAir XLite. The regular size is pretty darn small. Don't get me wrong.
I do have the large.
Pretty much exactly the same length as me, and I'm 5'10", with my sort of feet out, and like pretty much exactly the same width as me. But that was never really a problem.
Yeah,
per se, like it was exactly the right size.
At 6 foot, you definitely need the large, and it is honestly probably a bit bigger than I need, but it's nice to. I roll
sideways.
Yeah, particularly sideways. I roll around a lot, so I do appreciate that bit of extra size.
But there's no getting away from it. It's incredibly comfortable.
So comfortable.
So I believe mine was 350 grams. Yours is about
420.
400. I thought it was 410, but you can Google the weight. The point is that they're really comfortable.
Yeah. And they pack up, as you saw in the beginning, really small. So you have this huge comfy pad that packs down really small and is really warm. They're incredibly well insulated as well.
Insulation-wise, they're definitely warmer than the equivalent I mean, the R values are higher. I think the R value of mine was about 4, while the R value of a foam pad is around 2.
Yeah.
And the R value is, you notice it, definitely when it gets cold, your Therm-a-Rest, you lie on it and it feels warm, while you don't... I would say a foam pad isn't per se cold, but you don't get that feeling of warmth from it that you do get from an air
So then, with all these brilliant reasons as to why we love the XLite, why have you got a ZLite?
Right, so why have I got a ZLite? Well, after my most recent hike, which was a week on the Southwest Coast Path, you took my ZLite along, and my XLite with me, and I've always been incredibly careful with it.
Yeah.
The way I got it to last so long was, you know, clearing the ground thing. You have to
babied
be
it a lot more than me.
So delicate with them. You know, you have to. You can't sit on it hard. You have to lower yourself onto it. You can't really sit on it. You have, like, in one particular center point, because you put too much force onto it. You really have to baby it. You have to splay your weight across it. Anyway, I let my girlfriend use it, and it broke. And I didn't really mind, because I kind of guessed it would happen.
It had been 100 nights, and we did
nights.
meet a hiker on the GR10
We met
that
a couple of people that have said...
They say 100 nights is how long they last. You can't expect more than that.
Any AirPad, he said, 100 nights is
and
fantastic.
He was very experienced.
Yeah, and he was way more experienced than us. So I think 100 nights is pretty damn good on it, and it was probably getting to the point anyway. It broke. And it wasn't the sort of failure you could patch up. There was a little pinhole. It was the internal baffle. So the way that these break in our experience is normally the baffles delaminate.
It's normally in this
the pad sort of balloons.
This widest bit here, it's normally this baffle here. It pops, and then you have a double baffle, and then it kind of dominoes from there until the entire thing's like a giant balloon.
But they are very comfortable. The other nice thing about packing into your backpack is that they remain completely dry when you're hiking, which is something you've got to think about. Right, now let's talk about foam. So I switched to foam because I was like, I'm fed up of having to baby my pad. In combination with a new tarp, I was like, well, wouldn't it be really nice if I could be a little bit more brutal, if I could sit on it, cook on it, you know, use it as a functional sitting space rather than it being like a no-touching space unless I'm lying on it.
So I have mine like mostly deflated until just before we go to bed to make sure that nothing bad happens to it while we're cooking or anything like that. And it is a big faff. Like, trying to blow it up in the tent is a big faff.
So I bought a Decathlon knockoff ZLite, and it was really good, I would say. It was, you know, it was only £10 instead of £40. But after I had basically made the decision that I was going to continue using foam, I decided that I should shell out for the full this one because, well, there was two reasons. One, it had a very slightly warmer R value, but the other reason was the aspect ratio. So this pad, when I designed my backpack, because I made my own backpack, I basically made it so that a ZLite folded like this would slide into the backpack, while the other one, the knockoff, was about 2 centimeters wider and it didn't fit. So pretty niche reason, but anyway, I do think this one is marginally more comfortable than the knockoff, but not by a long way, to be honest.
In the end, you haven't even ended up putting it in your bag because there just wasn't enough space with all the gear.
So it doesn't really fit on the inside of my bag because it's so huge. So what I do in the daytime is I typically roll it up like this, put some elastic bands around it and strap it to the top of my backpack. And this means that only the underside gets wet when it's raining, and then I flop it down. So it is super quick, it is super comfortable, and it's completely indestructible. Well, it's not super comfortable, it's relatively comfortable.
It's less comfortable than one of these by a fair bit, I'd say.
So I would say my biggest issue with it is that I can't really sleep comfortably on my stomach. So I used to be a real stomach sleeper, but my knees dig in on this, and it's just too uncomfortable. So it is less comfortable. So there you go. This is basically our...
Basically, these ones might explode and break. This one will last forever. This is more comfortable and smaller. That's the kind of takeaways.
Unfortunately, what everybody else says, which is foam pads are not as comfortable. The other ones are more comfortable.
But
and where you want to exist on that spectrum, like between
what's the weight?
How rough you want to be with it. So this weighs about the same as a large. This is not cut down yet. So I think this weighs 400 grams. So it really just comes down to how rough do you want to be with it. Like, I had basically got fed up of babying my pad. I could have bought another one for another 120 quid because they've got even more expensive since I first bought them, but I just didn't want to spend the money on something that would only last another 100 nights. And to be honest, 100 nights is enough. When it lasts 100 nights, that's enough. But
100 nights is a long time.
I didn't want to have to faff. I wanted to be able to sit on it. And honestly, after sleeping on foam now for 10 plus, so 16 nights, I would be tempted to go back to an AirPad.
You see, watching him be able to throw his pad around and be completely chill with it is making me want to switch to foam. So maybe there's a bit of inconclusiveness there.
You've got to try both. You've got to try both. I think having it strapped to the outside of your pack genuinely isn't a worry. Just roll with it and it's all fine. But we'll see. We'll see how long term. I think I'm probably going to take it on another big hike. And after that, maybe I'll consider switching back just for the comfort. But we'll see. At the moment, especially when you get a nice soft pitch like this one today, it's good enough. Thank you very much for watching our video. Leave us comments. We'll probably answer them. We're pretty good with that sort of thing.
It'll be pretty good to see your experience as well. Like, everyone's inputs is good.
Yeah, so thank you so much for watching. Subscribe if you want to see more reviews and follow along the rest of our GR54 adventure.